Sweeney, Pete Sweeney, Pete Sweeney, Pete Sweeney, Pete Sweeney, Pete Sweeney.
It is that time of the week where we check in with our guy Pete Sweeney from Arrowhead Pride. He's presented by Mark Ferguson, the attorney that's been helping KC sports fans with all their legal needs since 1996. Integrity, results, that's Mark Ferguson. Pete Sweeney also not only is the editor-in-chief at Arrowhead Pride, he might be one of the most successful bettors in the last week in the Kansas City area.
Yep, it's been a fortunate 10 or so days when it comes to that type of thing. But you can't get ahead of yourself, right? I mean, it'll come down eventually.
Is it still going?
Oh, we're keeping it up.
Okay.
We're trying to continue to do what we can, but yeah, it's an up and down game. So you got to remember that the downtrend will come. So
that's right.
I'm still disappointed in Pete. He was supposed to come to the family in between game. Came last year.
Yeah.
He ditched me. I don't know. Is he some sort of emergency?
Well, because he's
something?
winning. He's on.
He doesn't want to take his money.
He's on a heater right now.
Once Travis Kelce did SNL, he was a little different. That's how I feel after my heater. I just can't be going to things like that anymore, Cody. I'm sorry.
Why? Is it because we said F the Sweeneys? Is that it? Just tell me the truth. That was one thing. That was one time.
Family, there was a time, and this is a real story, where the Tapp family, the entire Tapp family, chanted F the Sweeneys, and they said the word. That's the type of
I wouldn't show up anymore either. I wouldn't show up anymore either.
That was after they took like $1,000 off the table. Give us a break. Pete, we can't actually talk about this game much this weekend because there's not that much to learn out of the actual opponent. But like when we look at what the rest of the league is going to do, I do think that what I saw against Cincinnati told me that at least when they're motivated, like Cincinnati properly motivated them, and then they went out and they pretty easily handled Cincinnati, even though it could have cost them the division. I feel like maybe the playoffs can still re-energize this team. Not this game, not the game against the Chargers, but moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything momentum-wise to be gained from something that is an event between Blaine Gabbert and Easton Stick. I mean, it doesn't matter. This game doesn't matter. It's the equivalent of a preseason game 4, and I think the Chiefs will treat it as such. You have Rashee Rice and Isaiah Pacheco. They're in the injury report, and their ailments have kind of led me to believe that they'll probably just sit out. Maybe if they were healthier, they would try to reach 1,000 yards each. I know they're both within range, but there's no reason to chase that. Maybe a little bit of a different story from Travis Kelce and Chris Jones, but this is the type of game where the key is making sure that your reserve players who are going to be taking most of the snaps don't get hurt, because we've seen injuries in the playoffs. Sometimes you need these guys, and so get through the game. You try your best to put some good film out there for next year, and you try to come out with a win. But regardless of what happens, it just simply does not matter at all. So the Chiefs should rest whoever is ailing.
Much like a preseason game, you're always looking for that young piece maybe to be excited about going forward. And so Felix Anudike-Uzomah figures to get a lot of playing time, but I just have no expectations still, even in this game, for him. Like, if he doesn't do much in this game, it doesn't really change anything for me. How do you view, or what do you expect from FAU?
Yeah, I think the story has gotten a little bit too much play. Like, sometimes I agree that things should have more attention than others, but I think where Kansas City selected Felix, I think they wanted to take him in the second round. I mean, there were reports, and you can kind of tell from press conferences and stuff that they might have been trying to trade out of the round. Kind of thought that they could get him in the second round, and so I know he was taken in the first with that final pick. But for me, I've always kind of looked at him as a second round guy, which for me is almost a developmental player, especially at that position. And I also think that Kansas City has some good players at that position that are veterans right now, and they have a good line. And so it afforded him the year to get stronger, in an NFL lifting program, to learn some tricks of the trade. And not a ton of snaps this year, but this will be actually a game where you could look at him and say, well, what have you been doing behind the scenes, right? And I think you're in for a good performance, much like the offensive side of the football. I think when you're in for more snaps and more playing time, you can get in a little bit of a rhythm. There's that battle with the opposing offensive lineman that I think there's an edge to being able to be out in the field consistently. And I think he'll he'll have a strong game. And, granted, I don't think one game will make or break him, but it'll feel a lot better, after a season kind of in the shadows, being able to put some productive film out there, and you build on that for 2024 when we kind of expect Chris Jones to move on, and the Chiefs are going to need him to be a player. And so let's see what he's been doing all year.
It also feels like, as Cody was mentioning, we were talking about Justyn Ross. Like, this is the game where maybe Justyn Ross gets a touchdown or has a strong performance, and you know what the reaction's going to be when that happens, right?
Well, I think that, we're saying the game doesn't matter, and that's true. But I think for these reserve guys who we're discussing, you could play yourself into, I think, contributor roles in the postseason. Like, I don't think Justyn Ross can do anything to go out there on Sunday, and then all of a sudden the Chiefs are going to change their entire game plan and feature him as, with the snaps of Rashee Rice. However, if he goes out there and performs, and let's say, hypothetically here, in the red zone, they throw it up to him on a fade, and on a 50-50 ball, he comes down with it, then maybe you do see some plays drawn up in the postseason in the red zone for Justyn Ross, kind of what we predicted for him in training camp. So I think if you're looking for anything legitimate that can be gained from this game that'll mean something in the postseason, it's these guys playing for Andy Reid's eyebrows. Because if Andy Reid's eyebrows go up and suddenly he says, okay, maybe we should be using this guy, then I think you could have a role in the postseason. And we saw last year in the championship season just how important role players were. I mean, Sky Moore had a tough year when it came to the returns, and he had that key return in the AFC title game, also the touchdown in the Super Bowl. Same thing with Kadarius Toney, where, and not necessarily a wide receiver, but those returns were big. I think there are roles to be earned, playoff roles to be earned on Sunday for some of these reserve guys.
Pete, when you listen to Matt Nagy and Andy Reid this week, did you get kind of the same sense I did, where I felt like they were in a way admitting the complementary football into this? Like, look, we want to be aggressive and we want to score a lot of points, but because of the defense, we're not going to go over the top on that department and cost ourselves a football game. I kind of felt like that's what Nagy was saying yesterday.
Well, they've simplified things down. I mean, they've kind of admitted that. That was kind of my takeaway from hearing both of these guys. And we saw the production that the offense was able to have in doing so. And so I think they're going to continue in that fashion where, it's a simplified version of the offense. It's not overcomplicating things. You have young players that are starting to come into their own in advanced ways on their own. So like Rashee Rice, as we've kind of talked about that long touchdown, he kind of decided himself, I have leverage on this play. I'm just going to go, and it worked out. And so I think, that's putting more trust into the players. It's letting them go play and use their athletic abilities. And I think that, with Reid and Nagy, I think they're understanding, look, we don't need to score 35 points like we have in the past. We probably just need to get around 24, and that's going to extend to the postseason. And I think that's been fans' frustration this whole year is like, this isn't the offense we're used to, and that's 100% true. But it doesn't mean that they can't win key football games. It's just going to look a little different. It's going to be a little bit more boring. No other way to say it. Running the football, playing good defense, being smart with possessions, using Tommy Townsend to flip the field. But in the end, you can win that way. I mean, that's what I think has been lost the entire year. I mean, you can win that way. It hasn't been as fun, for sure. I mean, being the 3 seed is not as fun as being the number 1 seed. But, once the dance starts, everyone's 0-0. And so they can play that game and win their way to the Super Bowl.
I don't disagree. And normally for all the comparisons we've made to like the Patriots dynasty, they won a lot of games in the playoffs that way, Pete. But they did one thing that the Chiefs aren't doing, that not give the ball away. Like, I mean, is there some way in which the Chiefs, like at this point, it's like, they can't fix it. It's like kind of how they are. They have 9 games of 2 or more turnovers, 2, Pete, in which they've not turned the ball over. How do they eliminate that part or half of it? Because to me, if in any game they don't turn the ball over, 99% win rate, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know. Like, and I think a lot of the times we'll ask the coaches, like, how do you improve turnovers? And they're just like befuddled. And I think sometimes we'll point to the coaches and say, well, there's no accountability here. Like, I think the players are not trying to pop the football up and get intercepted. Like, I really think that, like, there shouldn't necessarily need to be a coaching point on that. It's like it's the simple peewee lessons of high and tight, right? Don't catch with your body. Like, these are things that these guys have been hearing forever. It's been an unfortunate year when it comes to turnovers. And what I will say about the postseason, and I felt this way, as we go here, is sure, like, I think the Chiefs can come out of the AFC just like anybody. They have way less margin for error because of everything we're talking about. And so, even I was saying for weeks that I think they could get bought by the wild card, kind of how they've been playing. But if that's the Bills or the Dolphins, it starts in the wild card. If they turn the football over twice, they're going to lose. I mean, there's no other way to say it. And so that becomes even more an emphasis here and now. And I don't think it's anything then, not the coaches, but the players just have to not turn the football over. And, like, you've been learning how to not turn the football over since you started playing the game. And so that's kind of how I feel. I mean, and now it's up to them. It's up to them, and they have to take care of the football, or they're not going to do anything this year.
Since you're rolling in the dough right now, I figured you're a perfect person to ask this question to. I saw the Seattle Seahawks rookie dinner receipt went viral. It cost the rookies $22,000 for their rookie dinner last night. So what's the most expensive dinner you've bought? And I guess, are you planning on having a nice dinner this weekend with your girlfriend? Because, again, you're rolling in the dough.
Well, this is why I can't go to Cody's thing tonight. We rescheduled. For everyone that doesn't know, I won't say the number, but I had a very big single game parlay.
Very nice.
So we're going to
very nice parlay.
We're going to the Capitol Grill tonight.
Hey, okay.
So we have
wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So if you also have had a hit and you're out there tonight and you want to have a chat about the Chiefs, don't be shy. Come on up and say hey.
Okay. Well, that'll be a good tab then.
It was burning a hole in your pocket. You were ready to go.
Look, I don't want. I'm not going to share his business. It's his business to share, but he can definitely take care of Capitol Grill tonight, based off of how well he's done recently. That's no problem at all.
It's been a nice stretch. Hopefully, we can kind of keep a little bit of that going.
There you go. All right, Pete. Appreciate it, man.
All right, take care, guys.